Okay, interest of time, I'll get things kicked off. So I guess to preface everything, this session will be recorded and it'll be uploaded to YouTube afterwards, so people can catch up at any time. There's a Q&A function that we ask any attendees to use throughout the webinar. If you want to pop any questions in there at any point, we'll cover them all in the allotted Q&A time at the end of the webinar. So thank you very much for everyone who's online. I'm here today to speak about the TIGGOR program and the EASI Engineering and Analysis Support Initiative. That's part of the business support offering in the TIGGOR program. I'm joined by Jamie Platt, one of our senior analysts, and Sam Porteous, one of our project engineers as well, to speak about their individual offerings. Before we get into the program, I want to talk a little bit about who we are as a Catapult. So we are a world-leading technology innovation centre for offshore wind with over 300 engineering, research and sector experts. We collaborate with the industry through research, innovation, testing and validation, and supply chain growth, which is, I suppose, what we're here today to talk about. I'm part of our SET Directorate, which is Strategic and Emerging Technology. We have a focus on early stage innovation, SME support, and research and collaboration with UK academia. Supply chain acceleration is one of our key strategic growth areas, where we aim to accelerate UK company growth and development of a UK supply chain capable of meeting the needs of the rapidly expanding sector through multiple support mechanisms, of which EASI is one. On the right-hand side there, you can see our locations throughout the UK. Test centres in Blyth and Aberdeen, as well as office presences in Glasgow, the Humber, Pembroke, Lowestoft Hill, and Anglesey. What I'm going to cover today is what the TIGGOR program is and give a bit of context on that, a bit of an overview of the whole program's activity, and then we'll dig into the business support offering, specifically the EASI business support that's on offer, how to apply, the eligibility and process to apply, and then I'll hand over to Jamie to speak about the analysis support and Sam to speak about the engineering support. So what is TIGGOR? TIGGOR has been going for about 5 years now. It stands for Technology, Innovation and Green Growth for Offshore Renewables. It's a £10 million supply chain acceleration and technology demonstration programme funded by the North East Combined Authority and managed and delivered by ORE Catapult. The programme's currently in an extension of its second iteration, TIGGOR 2.5, and the programme aims to support North of Tyne supply chain to develop, de-risk and accelerate the market readiness of their offshore renewable energy technologies and solutions through the provision of R&D grant funding and tailored business support, as well as support bridging the gap between academia and industry. A couple of points I like to cover kind of when I'm speaking about the programme's context and kind of why the programme exists specifically in North East England. So from the back of our 2023 and 2025 evaluations of the impact, there was some, I think, quite important facts that came out with that. The top two here are really important. So the North East has more companies engaging in R&D than anywhere else in the UK, excluding London, yet has less R&D funding than available than anywhere else in the UK. And more people in the region are relying on the energy sector for employment than anywhere else in the UK. So it kind of sets the scene on how important the sector really is within the northeast of England. And specifically, we, with this funding, refer to the North of Tyne region. So our support is limited to Northumberland, North-Tyneside and Newcastle as things stand in the programme due to the source of the funding, because it was ring-fenced for the North of Tyne Combined Authority before the councils devolved. So the TIGGOR program, as I've touched on, Technology, Innovation and Green Growth for Offshore Renewables, it has kind of 3 to 4, I'll say 3 key work streams, of which we kind of covered in the first part. We have, you know, the R&D grant funding elements, the business support elements, and the academic engagement and skills development. Under the Technology Demonstration Programme, the TDP, we provide competitive R&D grants for companies to develop novel technologies in specific thematic areas, typically funded between 50 and 60% and are supported by industry partners EDF Renewables and Equinor. The Business Support Programme provides wraparound in-kind business support, typically utilising an existing offshore renewable energy catapult programme, or sometimes we've done brand new things, of which EASI is one of those. Previously, we've partnered with the Offshore Wind Growth Partnership, we've run the Launch Academy programme, Fit for Offshore Renewables, and worked alongside RTC North. And then finally, the academic engagement and skills development elements of the programme. We've worked alongside Northumberland University and Newcastle College to provide PhD funding, dissertation topics, guest lectures, general exposure to industry, as well as industry qualifications for students and upskilling courses for sector employees. So the focus today is specifically the business support strand of work, and even more specifically, EASI, which stands for the Engineering and Analysis Support Initiative. So the EASI Business Support Programme was launched on the 18th of August and is part of the wider TIGGOR programme. EASI runs alongside our other business support, such as Fit4 and our technology demonstration programme as well. EASI offers up to 20 days of internal ORE Catapult engineering or analysis time to deliver bespoke work in key engineering and market areas tailored to your company's specific technology innovation. And that's, I suppose, a lot of words, but in essence, what it actually is essentially a 100% funded offering from the Catapult, where we'll provide 20 days of either an engineer and an analyst to work on a really specific piece of work focused to your technology innovation service, whatever that may be. And I won't kind of steal Jamie and Sam's thunder. I'll let them cover the kind of topics on offer, but there is a large range of work that we can do under those two routes. So a little bit on criteria and points to note. So the support type is non-financial. It is all in-kind support provided by the ORE Catapult, funded through UK SPF funding and a mixture of ORE Catapult in-kind. The application type is an open call. So as I mentioned, it opened on the 18th of August. It's currently first come, first served and has no closed or no fixed end date. It'll be when all of that funding is utilised. The amount of support on offer is up to 20 days, which equates monetarily to around £17,000 worth of in-kind support. And the delivery duration will be prior to the 31st of March 2026. All work must be delivered as the programme ends then. In terms of eligibility, companies must be a UK registered organisation. Companies must have or be based in or must be based in or have a physical presence or physical operational presence in either Newcastle, Northumberland, or North-Tyneside. That can be whether it be manufacturing, office, R&D. There has to be some kind of physical presence within one of those three regions. Companies must be micro, small, or medium enterprises. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the funding, we can't support large enterprises, and that is due to the subsidy control methodology in which the funding is distributed. The company must operate in or show a clear desire to operate in the offshore renewable energy industry, and companies must be developing a technology or solution for the offshore renewable energy industry. And I think that's an important point, that second to last one there, is we're not just limited to supporting companies who are already operating in the sector. We have a clear desire to bring companies from other sectors, whether they be adjacent or legacy sectors, to the offshore renewable energy industry, and especially keen on directly transferable technologies. So really keen to engage with companies who are also in other sectors. On our website, which you can find if you search TIGGOR on the ORE Catapult website, you will find the current TIGGOR opportunities on the TIGGOR webpage, which will contain the EASI business support about halfway down that page. Alongside the apply button, which takes you to a Microsoft Forms, we have supporting documentation. There's a scope and guidance document on there, which provides the kind of full outline and scope of the programme, as well as a bit more in depth on the eligibility. And alongside that will be an example letter of engagement, and this will be what you sign alongside the programme, this will be what you sign to get on the programme, sorry. And essentially just covers kind of IP clauses and things like that. I'll touch on that in a couple of slides' time. So how to apply? As I've said, on our website, there will be a apply here link, and they'll be assessed on a first come, first served basis. We have the potential to support up to 18 organisations, so there are lots of spaces still available, but I do encourage companies to apply as soon as possible in order to make sure that those spaces don't disappear. Applications are complete through a Microsoft Forms, which can be found on the ORE Catapult website under the TIGGOR webpage. The MS Forms is split into three sections, one on eligibility, one on business, and then one on the information required, the information and support required. Once you get into section 3 of that, the kind of first two sections are a lot just on your business, so contact details, size of your business, as well as kind of what sectors you already operate in. The third section will show what you see in the top right-hand corner there, where there'll be an engineering or analysis pathway that you can select. From here, it'll then down select, depending on the route you've chosen, into 5 to 6 scopes of work. The example I've put on the bottom right-hand side there is the engineering scopes of work, which are engineering design development, simulation and modeling tool development, and so on. I won't steal Sam's thunder for a little bit later on covering those. This support can't be mixed and matched. So it can't be 10 days engineering, 10 days analyst. It'll be one really kind of bespoke, focused piece of work in either pathway. So you'll be asked to actually rank those scopes of work from 1 to 5 on which you think will be most beneficial to your business. You'll also be able to provide a short scope on what you'd like us to do as well. But this does allow us to be a little bit flexible if we look at you as a business and look at the scope you want to suggest other alternative scopes of work that we think might be more beneficial to your organization. Ultimately, it'll be up to you, but we want to be able to provide that advice and say we think this would provide more benefits than maybe what's been selected. So from here, some additional technical information will be provided and the proposed scope of work will be suggested by yourselves. Once that's submitted, we will review it and you'll be notified of your outcome shortly after. If you're successful, a scoping session will be arranged to finalise your scope of works in the following weeks. And as I've kind of touched on there, that scoping session will be used really to nail down into the specifics of the piece of work that you want and deal with any kind of information requests that we might need, but also to suggest alternative scopes of work if we think something's going to be of benefit. So a couple of final points before I hand over to Jamie to speak about the A&I scopes of work. On the letter of engagement, there are expectations of companies that are successful. The first of these is to complete the technical questionnaire to collect the information on the innovation and requirements, which is part of the application form. We also expect organizations to work with the program team to define your innovation development objectives of the program. So that'll be through the scoping session that we arrange. We also expect organizations to attend the program closeout to discuss the program outcome deliverables. And that is a benefit to you as well, discussing that kind of end deliverable and answering any questions that we can. Secondly, IP and legal considerations. So this is a question we often get asked, and I kind of wanted to jump the gun a bit and get ahead on that. So engaging the program does not transfer any IP rights. Obviously, we might be dealing with some early stage innovation here. So just to reassure supported organizations that kind of any and all IP created as part of the program will belong to you, and any improvements or modifications to background IP will remain the property of the original owner. These clauses can be found in the example letter of engagement that's on the website if you want to have a little look in that in a bit more detail. Also, the support is delivered through the RDI Streamline Route Category 3, which means that there's no financial impact on your business. So there's no in-kind contribution required from you. There is no match funding contribution required from you, and this doesn't go towards any MFA budgets on your organization. So zero financial impact altogether. The last slide that I quite like to end on often is the impact that the program's had to hand. So I won't dig through all of these, but since 2021, the TIGGOR program's had a huge impact on the North of Tyne region, distributing nearly £4 million of grant funding and leveraging additional £3 million, creating a number of jobs, safeguarding a number of jobs, creating apprenticeships and traineeships, and importantly, contributing 18 new products to the market from our local supply chain. I will finish up there. Obviously, if there's any questions on that, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A and we'll revisit them once Jamie and Sam have covered their respective analysis and engineering routes. And Jamie, I'll hand over to you. Just next slide me when you want to move on.
Yeah, excellent, Dylan. Thank you for the overview. And I will take everybody online through the next handful of slides where I'll be going over each of the 4 areas that are currently on screen. I think these will translate pretty closely to the 5 topics that are on the questionnaire, which you'd rank. And so the purpose of the next few minutes where I'll be presenting is to kind of give you a little bit more of a feel for what each of these 4 are, so that you can have a little bit more clarity as to what it is that you're selecting and the type of support that me and my team will be able to provide. So let's have a look into each of these, starting with the finance and economics topics. Next slide, please, Dylan. Thank you very much. So typically, Well, actually, I'll start with the analysis and insights team. I think Dylan name dropped us in there. It's A&I, which is the team that I'm here to represent. We're a team of around about 11 analysts and a couple of managers to support the analysis team with the delivery. I will briefly introduce the team at the end. And our purpose, kind of as it says in the tin, is to provide analysis and insights to a wide variety of projects that we get involved in. But for the purpose of these types of projects and programs, we are essentially providing analysis support to your individual products and innovations, and also insights into the industry as a whole. So with that said, the cost modeling part, and a lot of these 1, 2, 3, 4 options are kind of ranked, I suppose, in a little bit of an order in terms of what we've got the most kind of expertise and kind of what I think is the kind of the headline or the highlights that we can provide to you. I've got a background in accounting and finance. That's my degree, and I'm qualified. So I've obviously got a slightly biased and vested interest in the modelling and everything that comes with a pound sign in front of it. But I do genuinely think that we've got a lot to offer companies when it comes to providing a comparison, providing, well, analysis in terms of how your product and innovation will stack up against what the industry is currently providing. So what we would look to do is, I suppose, run a comparison between, okay, let's have a look at what the industry is currently doing, whether that be in O&M, whether that be in the development of a wind farm. We can be quite bespoke and quite specific about whereabouts so that we're sort of targeting and sort of drill into those specific areas to sort of try and pull out the highlights and the things that are worth bringing to your attention. So if we take a O&M, that's operations and maintenance, and as an example, we would be able to, let's say, create a scenario where we would look at operations and maintenance for an offshore wind project and then simulate it over its 25-year life. And then we could have a look at what that looks like in 2025. And then we'd be able to create a secondary view incorporating your product and innovation. Now, obviously, there's going to be assumptions and a little bit of guesswork involved because we are dealing with a few hypotheticals. We don't know exactly what your technology is going to look like, but we will try and do our best to bring that to life and try and provide some financial differences and sort of benefits, if we can, about how the product is going to sort of stack up. And I think we will often, because it's what our team does typically, we will sort of try to look at things from or with a financial lens, but we can also try and do things from a health and safety lens, from a regulatory perspective. I suppose some of these themes might come out in some of the later topics that I'll be covering. But the cost modeling is predominantly a kind of cost comparison to sort of see where we can make savings, to see where revenue might get increased, that sort of thing. The second bullet point in this slide is LCOE assessments. LCOE stands for levelized cost of electricity, or sometimes energy. This is perhaps not hugely sort of relevant for a lot of micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, because LCOE is quite a macro term where what LCOE does is it looks to take the total costs involved in a project and then the total energy produced from a project. Then the energy will be divided by the cost to give you an answer, an output in pounds per megawatt hour. So this isn't something which is can be quite immaterial, I suppose, sometimes to small, medium-sized enterprises and micro enterprises, because perhaps you're not going to be sort of changing the dial, and sometimes the answer can't be, or can appear to be quite insignificant. But even a small change can make quite a big difference, and then we can perhaps sort of bring that back to the cost modeling part, where we sort of give an answer in more absolute terms. So it'll be £1 million saving, and £1 million saving in LCOE terms might be a couple of pence here or there. So we'll always try to make the answer meaningful and relevant to you, so that when it comes to presenting the information to a developer, to somewhere where you're trying to gain funding, that you will be able to have answers and you'll be able to sort of try and back up what it is that you're trying to present. So we're not, yeah, I suppose that is actually something that I probably want to just put a little bit more focus on, is that what this module and what these things that we'll be offering are, is going to be helping to support you, to provide you with further information, more clarity, so that when you're progressing your product, you've got more information in your answer book, I suppose, so that you can have more clarity, so that you've got, yeah, the answers. Yeah, don't need to say much more than that, I don't think. So I think that probably covers both of those 2 points: the cost modelling, the LCV assessments. Oh, actually, one probably more thing, especially on the cost modelling side of things. My team, the Analysis and Insights team, we have developed a couple of tools, cash flow model and a cost model, where we've got a lot of industry information that has been developed by the team and is maintained by the team, and it's kind of our biggest IP and our USP, that we hold this information and we are able then to build a really kind of quite thorough view of what the industry will look like for the complete life cycle of a project. So that runs from the development stage right the way through to decommissioning, with construction and maintenance in between. So we can use these models, and I would definitely encourage anybody that is thinking of applying to the project and then is successful onto the program, to sort of really take advantage of this understanding, these tools, so that we can try and provide these insights, I suppose, to you and your business. So when you're moving forward, you've got that information at hand. If we can move on to the next slide, please, Dylan. So the next slide is all about the markets. I think I would like to clarify that when we are speaking about markets or marketing, it's not about going out and advertising your product and knocking on doors, that sort of thing. It probably links back to what I'd said previously about wanting to give more information to you, so that when you're developing your product and your innovation, you know more than you did at the start of the program. Where the marketing information will be helpful to you is, you might be sat there thinking just now, well, is there an appetite in the offshore wind market for the product that I'm developing? And the purpose of the market forecasting sort of strand in particular is to try and provide real evidence that yes, there is. So this might be, just as an example, looking at things like how many turbines are currently operating in the UK or further afield. Now, we do tend to provide most of our information in UK terms because we are a UK company trying to support UK innovation, but we are trying to support UK companies who might also have interest in markets further afield. So we can also provide a little bit of insight if you're sort of thinking about the Dutch market, going into floating offshore product markets in countries in Europe or further afield, but it is predominantly UK. So we might be looking at things, well, yeah, like I said, how many turbines there are, what capacity there is, and that might be a question for just now. Or we've got pretty good forecasts, and we've done a lot of work to try and understand what the market is going to look like in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 25 years' time, so that, okay, you might have an idea, which is just an idea for just now, and you might not be able to perhaps commercialize it for another few years, but we're looking to also try and provide you with comfort that there's going to be a market, a growing market, that's going to sort of keep asking for the product in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. I think I've probably covered everything that I'd like to in that. And then the second part of that is a market barrier assessment piece, which I suppose is the yin and yang of the first piece. That, okay, whilst there is absolutely going to be a need and an ask for these products, but it's also worth sort of seeing, well, what are the barriers to entering the market? And I think I always like to sort of try and frame it in a way that when you get onto the program and when you have the kind of workshop sessions with myself or another analyst that Dylan has alluded to, you're on the program and it's kind of a safe space that you can discuss and say, look, well, we do have weaknesses. There are threats to the product. And it's good to actually be open, honest, and transparent about what those are, because it's good also to have an understanding about, well, what might be stopping us from getting into the offshore renewable market. So having that sort of complete picture, I think is really important, that we can say, yes, there's a market there, but actually these are other things that we should be aware of when trying to enter the offshore wind market. Don't think anything else left on that one, Dylan, so we can move on to number 3, which is the advisory section, which covers strategy, policy, and regulatory advisory. So what this section is really sort of trying to do and say is that we've got a team of a dozen or so individuals that throughout our careers in the offshore wind sector will have picked up a lot of knowledge, and of it, whether it ranges from the development stage of sort of trying to build a project, whether it's the sort of individual companies. For example, there's a project ongoing just now which is looking at insurance. What I'm trying to say is hopefully we'll have got a lot of bases covered, and that we can try and to provide insight into what is going on in the industry just now and what things that you should be aware of, and sort of try to bring that into a little bit of life. And I sort of mentioned things like environmental studies. So if your product was or innovation is sort of trying to let's break into that development stage, well, there might be environmental kind of issues and a framework, legal issues, whatever it might be, that you should be aware of, that we can help sort of put down and sort of state and sort of talk through with you to make you aware of the things that you do need to be aware of, because this is an industry which is quite highly regulated, and there will be barriers to entry, and sort of having that understanding again, I think, is going to be really important, so that you're not delayed in trying to get in. If you've got ideas, let's sort of try and give you that information just now so that you don't come up against a blocker in the future. I think what is worth noting, and I don't like to sort of try to put too much of a downer on sort of saying things that we don't offer. I always like to try and say what we do. But I think it is worth just noting out that we will provide information that we have as either as a team or a wider business, to say this is what we know, this is what we have found, this is what we believe. But what we won't be able to do in the time frame and with the budget, even though it's kind of funded budget, is go out and do a stakeholder engagement piece where we're engaging with Ofgem or the industry, developers. We're not going to be that kind of middleman to go away and sort of ask all these questions. It's going to be a piece of work that we'll be delivering in-house by one of the analysts who will be assigned to the work. So I just wanted to kind of get that piece out, because it's something that kind of comes up on occasions and sort of trips people up. Next and kind of final slide in terms of what the Analysis Insights team offer, and that is on sustainability. And I've kind of also kind of narrowed that down a little bit further to a carbon impact assessment, where the aim is to provide an understanding of the impact, and that can be both negative and positive, about an innovation and what that might look like. And that's something that I've been working with a lot more recently than when I first joined the organization, joined the industry. I'm seeing more and more of it. It's becoming an increasingly popular piece of work that I think a lot of companies are looking to try and get more understanding. And whilst I'm really, really keen to try and give you a view from a financial perspective, because that's what I really like to do, and that's what gets me up in the morning, I can absolutely see, and the team is equipped to provide this further kind of carbon impact assessment. So it's maybe less about putting a pound sign and more about putting things into the context of carbon dioxide emissions equivalents. There can be a little bit of a kind of social impact view as well here. So this is getting really popular. And if this is something that you're keen to do, I would sort of, yeah, definitely, as Dylan said, really sort of think quite carefully about getting those applications in quickly. Now, this is the type of thing that you're looking, get in soon, because it's kind of eating up resource quickly, because, yeah, a lot of companies do want it. Yeah, I think that's probably about everything to say on that. I think anything that I've covered just in these last few minutes, we will obviously go into in a lot more detail when we have the kind of workshop type meetings where we'll sort of really thrash out what it is that we will do. I'm trying to sort of speak in quite a general tone just at the moment to sort of give a kind of a broad feel for what the team can do. But clearly when we have one-on-one discussions, we can sort of really drill into the types of things that are going to be most relevant to you. So I think, Dylan, you were keen to move on to the next slide, and so am I, so we can do that. I think we're going to have about 15 transitions just here, so we'll have
This slide might be a bit broke. That might be my fault.
We're going to have a slow reveal by looks of things of the team, of which, there we go. Tom is the head. He's supported by 2 managers, that's Emily and Kabindra. And then underneath, so it's probably the 7 analysts kind of in the bottom right part of the screen that we're going to be using to help deliver this EASI work, EASI. We've got Andrew, Alexandra, Victoria, myself, Ian, Cesar, and Diana, all really well equipped, all got a lot of skills, interests, different backgrounds, and we will try to assign the analyst to you who's going to probably be most relevant. So yeah, I don't really have much more to add on that. I hope that's kind of whet the appetite and given a bit of a flavour for what it is that the analysis part of the EASI programme can offer. Absolutely will invite questions in the Q&A, so happy to answer them later on, but we'll pass over to Sam to explain about the engineering support. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi everyone, I'm Sam Porteous. I'm a project engineer here at ORE Catapult, and I'll be sort of leading the engineering side of the support that we offer as part of the TIGGOR programme. Can I get the next slide, please, Dylan? Thanks. So just a brief agenda of what we'll look at in the next sort of 10-15 minutes. We'll go through a bit of a very broad summary of our expertise that we have here at ORE Catapult from the sort of engineering side of things. We'll look at the aims of the support on this programme, and then the engineering work areas that we're offering as part of the programme. And then we'll go through sort of the scoping process, and then how the engineering support will sort of develop and then be delivered. So we'll just move on to the areas of expertise that we have here at Catapult. So this slide gives you an idea of some of the areas of expertise that we have in our engineering teams, and it should hopefully give you a bit of an idea of the breadth of expertise that we have to offer from our engineering team, which will feed into the support that we offer as part of the TIGGOR programme. So we've got blade and drivetrain expertise. We've tested some of the largest and most novel blades and drivetrains in the world. We've also got various other teams and test centres, from the floating offshore wind team with our floating offshore wind centre of excellence up in Aberdeen. We've got marine energy expertise, we've got data and digital expertise, and got expertise in various other areas as well. And although the expertise we have across our engineering teams cover all of these areas, it's not limited to these areas. I thought it would be just helpful to point out that this is just sort of a very broad summary, and we have areas of expertise out with what's on the screen there as well. And the reason that I'm sort of going through that is just to show the breadth of expertise that we have available on the Catapult to help in delivering the work which we offer as part of this programme. And I'm sure on the webinar here, we've got a range of different technologies represented. I'm confident that with all the technologies represented, the breadth of expertise that we have in our engineering team in the Catapult there will be someone basically within our team who will have some expertise which will be helpful as you look to sort of help develop your technologies. So yeah, that's just a sort of brief overview of the expertise that we have on offer as part of our engineering team. Could I go to the next slide, please, Dylan? Thanks. But what about the engineering support program here on TIGGOR? Well, the aims of the engineering support we deliver are first for us to understand your technology and the technology development pathway that you've gone through to date, which then allows us to work with you to identify some key areas for helping to accelerate the development of your technology going forward. And then once we've identified these areas, we offer tailored support to you through giving you access to our engineering team. And then our team will deliver the tailored work to you on the program, and that will help with sort of immediate development goals that you have as a company and with your technology. And the outputs of the module are essentially a documented engineering support package, and this will typically take the form of sort of a report with perhaps some a model which has been developed, or a standards review, or whatever information has been sort of assessed to go into that report will be offered alongside the report as well. But it'll typically be sort of the engineering support we summarize in a report, which you'll then be able to go and use however you see fit as you sort of seek to develop your technology further. So that's just a brief overview of the aims of the engineering support part of the program. Can I get the next slide, please, Dylan? So now just looking in a bit more detail at what the specific engineering support is that's on offer as part of the program. So we have 5 different areas that you can see on the screen here where we're offering support. And these are areas that our team has experience of delivering in the past through other technology accelerator programs and bits of work, such as Launch Academy and previous TIGGOR work as well. And we'll typically aim to deliver the support in 1 or 2 of the areas listed here for each company, depending on what scope of work you're looking for us to sort of deliver for you. So just sort of diving into these, the first area on offer is the simulation and or modeling tool development. So we've got access to expertise in using various different engineering softwares such as MATLAB, ANSYS, OrcaFlex, and Microsoft Excel, amongst others. And we've got strong engineering fundamentals in our team which allow us to tackle sort of analysis problems from various different backgrounds. And this work could be sort of addressing a new area that you need analysis work carried out in, for example, developing a performance model for your technology, or developing an analysis sheet for sizing components of a part of your technology, for example. Or it could build on existing work that you already have underway as you're developing your own technology. We also offer engineering design and development support. This could take the form of developing documented requirements and specifications for a component or a functionality of your system and performing structured down selection for these. It could be CAD work in building aspects of a 3D model, or it could be finite element analysis work, looking at stresses in components of your technology, for example. And then the third area that we offer is doing a technology risk review, so quite different to the first couple of options. This would be where we'd look at your technology and sort of assess it and identify risks, whether that's design risks or operational risks, and then assess the impact of those risks on the technology and the performance as a whole. And this could be helpful for example, if you're working towards certification or a technology qualification, doing that sort of technology risk review work can be very helpful for sort of evidence and for focusing development as you go forward towards those. We also offer a TAP, technology assessment process called. And this is essentially where we'd apply sort of a structured evidence-based framework to assess your technology. And the output of that would essentially highlight areas that our team would view as key strengths and key sort of weaknesses or areas to focus on development for future. And then we sort of provide that feedback in a report format through that. And that would, the aim of that would be basically for you to get sort of our input from sort of the expertise and knowledge we have of the sector of areas which might be helpful to focus on development for future as you're looking to sort of either get into the sector or develop within the sector. And that could be looking at your technology from a technical standpoint or a commercial standpoint. And then the final offering is a technical standards review. So we have a large engineering team with access to various engineering standards relating to the offshore renewable sector. And we can draw on that to identify which standards and engineering best practice documents are most applicable to your technology to help sort of guide future development of it. And this can also be used to support technical qualification work or certification activities, which could be included in the scope of work or could be carried out by yourselves in future with sort of input from us and from this programme. So that's just sort of a brief overview of the engineering support that we're offering on the programme. And hopefully at least one or maybe a couple of those areas are sort of interest to you as you're looking to develop your technology. In the questionnaires that sort of need to be filled out in the application for this programme, you'll be asked to rank these from sort of most preferable down to least preferable. And as we're reviewing the questionnaire responses and looking to sort of assign a delivery lead to you, we'll seek to deliver your most preferred option where possible. But obviously it'll be subject to, I guess, availability of our team. But yeah, we'll seek to offer support in the areas that you highlight as sort of your key areas. Can I get the next slide, please, Dylan? Thanks. So now just looking in a bit more detail about sort of the overall process of the programme and how things will work as we sort of work together on the programme. So firstly, you'll fill in the questionnaire as part of the programme application, and then we'll review that questionnaire to get a better idea of your technology and your company goals and your development plans. And then upon reviewing that and understanding what your support preferences are, we'll assign a technical delivery lead who will deliver the engineering support through the programme. Then following them being assigned, the engineering lead will organise a workshop with you to discuss the support work that we will deliver for you. So that'll sort of be an online call for an hour or two, where we'll just have a sort of one-to-one discussion with you. And going into that workshop, we'll come with a proposed scope of work, which will be based on your questionnaire info and your preferences that you ranked. And during that workshop, we'll discuss this proposed scope and we'll refine it with you as we get sort of more details of what you're looking for in your technology. And that'll be to ensure it fits well with your expectations and also your development plans. And we'll aim to have the scope agreed and finalised by the end of that workshop. And then following the workshop, we'll write up the scopes formally and send them to you for your formal sign-off. And then following that, the sort of delivery of the work will begin. Just the final slide now, just to sort of wrap things up and summarise the overall process that we'll go through with the engineering support side of things in the programme. So we'll start looking at, just to sort of, yes, as a reminder of how things will work from start to finish, we'll start looking at the information from your application to help us understand what your technology is, your development to date and your future plans, just to sort of, I guess, get ourselves up to speed with your technology as best we can. And then in reviewing all that, we'll assign a delivery lead to who will suit sort of the relevant area of expertise that you're looking for. We'll then flesh out the scope of work with you in the one-to-one workshop, and then we'll deliver the tailored work that's been agreed between us and yourselves. And through that, we'll sort of probably have regular meetings throughout the delivery process to ensure that we're going in the right direction and targeting the areas that you're really looking to be targeted. So yeah, that's just a brief overview of the engineering support that we have on offer. If anyone has any questions, then we're very happy to take those in the Q&A, which I think is following shortly. But I'll just pass over to Dylan as we sort of wrap up the webinar side of things.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thank you very much, Jamie, as well. Yeah, so kind of before we get into the Q&A, I just wanted to bring up this last little slide here. So there's a couple of useful links on here. The TIGGOR webpage on the ORE Catapult website will have the link to apply, which will take you straight to the Microsoft Forms. It'll also have the scope and guidance and letter of engagements, which can both be downloaded from the website to read through just to familiarise yourself with the process a little bit more. And then finally, there's a direct link to the forms there as well that we can send out following the webinar as well, actually, because we should have your emails. I can ping some information out directly with some additional information on the program. That's everything we had for the webinar. So we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A at the moment. I think, Sam, this one was submitted during your presentation there. And it was for the simulation and modeling work that you're talking about.
Yep.
Are you limited to the tools that you listed?
No, we're not limited to. That was just sort of an example of some of the tools that we have available. I suppose we are limited in the tools that we have, but we do have some other tools. Just off the top of my head, we've also got I can't remember what I mentioned. We've got Orcaflex, ANSYS, we've got MATLAB, Simulink, Python, and there are probably other tools as well that I just can't think of right now, but we're not limited to the ones in the slides. But yeah, if you have the tool in mind, then do let me know. Let you know if we have that available to us. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, Sam. I think it was actually just the one question in the Q&A there. So if anybody has any more, I'll give it a minute or so just for submissions. Praveen says they will be in touch, Sam, about that. So
Okay,
great.
good stuff.
Thank you very much, Praveen. So doesn't look like there's much more coming through.
Is there forum, Dylan, if questions come in at a later point, that if people have a question that they think of in an hour's time, if people watch this on the YouTube channel, what's the way that they can get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So should have included it on this final useful links page, but I've clearly forgot to. The email address for the TIGGOR program is TIGGOR, TIGGOR, at ore.catapult.org.uk. So any kind of questions that come in there, we'll pass them to the relevant teams associated with the program. So if anyone does have any questions, please feel free just to drop the TIGGOR program an email. And there's nothing else coming through there in the Q&A, so I think we can give everyone back 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much to everyone who attended, and thank you, Sam and Jamie, as well, for coming along and presenting.
No worries. Thanks for having us. Look forward
Thanks,
to
everyone.
working with the companies.
Excellent. Right. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.